years ago, WTA did a report called Ka-band and the teleport, and that was our first look at the idea that vast new amounts of bandwidth could be transformative in our business. So what we're doing essentially is to updating that report, because some amazing things have happened in the last couple of years in terms of advances in modulation technologies, Ka-band going from being theoretical to being real, the first big rollouts occurring at the end of 2011 and going into this year we're in now. And also some of the exciting announcements like Intelsat's EPIC system, bringing the idea of frequency reuse to the established bands of C and Ku. So all of that, we believe, adds up to the kind of thing we like to report on, which is technology change today that's going to have a significant impact on our members in the future. We expect there to be a lot of changes, a tremendous number of changes. And in talking to the respondents of our survey, they range from the media business, where you're already beginning to use these new higher throughput technologies, particularly Ka-band, for satellite news gathering. We're hearing stories about using it as a simultaneous way to deliver web video. So you're going to stream multiple streams away from a single remote. Or even increasingly using it as a means to download canned content to DVR for play out in the home. So a lot of interesting possibilities there. Government and military, another huge area for our industry, and that's a really interesting one, because probably the idea of spot beams is a better fit for the need of government and military customers than any other market segment. For the simple reason that what goes on in government and military typically is about geography, it's about a location. And so by being able to deliver to the government exactly the location they want, you're talking about very high value. And finally, the whole enterprise remote resource extraction story is going to be huge. These customers in oil and gas, for instance, are already vast users of data, and they have a much higher demand that they'd like to see filled now, going from 5 to 10 megabits up to 40 or 50 megabits. They could use that tomorrow. So very, very substantial changes coming forward in our business. Perhaps the most interesting thing that this report talks about is changes in architecture. The early high throughput satellite architectures are all closed. They are designed specifically for broadband via satellite and are expected to be very competitive in that area. Well, to get the price point where they want it, to get the service level where they want it, these networks are being engineered so that they have a limited number of gateways, and those are the only gateways accessing the satellite. That's a tremendous change from the past. And the question that our report asks and seeks to answer is that going to be the pattern going forward? And if so, what do teleport operators and other service providers do about it? Or do we expect to see that change? Our report finishes with some very specific suggestions for teleport operators and other service providers. When you're faced with what we think is potentially a very large set of changes, you want to do something about them today. You need to do something about them today. So the question is what? Our analysis begins by distinguishing between the short term and the long term. In the short term, the respondents to our survey and our interviews seemed to feel that this was not going to be a huge change. It was going to be a change that would add new business. It would take an oil and gas customer, as an example I gave before, and take them from 45 megabytes to 40 to 50. You do the same thing for a government internet distribution project. So more of what we already know how to do. But long term, we're talking about the cost per bit potentially coming down drastically. We're talking about very large-scale changes in the satellite infrastructure. And potentially, for the first time, satellite services becoming truly cost competitive with fiber. We've all talked about fiber as being our enemy, as being the thing we're afraid of, and of course every year we find that satellite finds its own niche, is able to continue delivering tremendous value. All of a sudden this may open up the game to delivering applications which we've always thought have sooner or later going to migrate to fiber. Jury is still out, but it's a very interesting possibility. So distinguishing between those two things is important. And in the long term, or taking the long term into account and saying what do we do about it today, we have three basic pieces of advice. First of all, bet on change. Don't just think that this is going to go away, or that you can put off finding out about it, you can put off understanding the impact that it's going to have in your business. now is the time to investigate these technologies, as many of our members have done very intensively. And many of them have said, okay, we think we know where it is today. Now we're just going to keep watching it very carefully, and when the time comes, when the right moment comes, we'll make some transitions. We also think you're going to have to prepare to sell new applications to new groups of customers. And we're basically talking about disruptive innovation. If we're right, and if our respondents are right, that this is going to be a step change sooner or later, that means we're going to be selling new things. That means we're going to be selling them to new people. And that may in some cases mean disintermediating our current customers. We're personally concerned about the future of conventional VSAT over KU. In the near term, it'll do just fine. In the long term, there's questions about how competitive it can be compared to a KA band solution, for instance. And lastly, we're all going to have to prepare for some new competition. Whenever you enter new markets, whenever you begin to step up your game and become more deeply integrated into global telecommunications, which is what we fundamentally think is going to happen, you're suddenly going to be competing in a whole new world. So fortunately, the good news is that there's time for that, but the important news from this report is that it's also time to get started on building the future. If you are not a WTA member, you can purchase this report on our website, laying down your credit card to get it. If you are a WTA member, however, this report is free to you. So I'd suggest, if you're thinking about WTA membership, you might just go ahead and take this opportunity to take the step, join us, and take advantage of this incredible global network of service providers.